Hey everybody, welcome back to 613 Mopar. If it's your first time, just welcome. Stay around, hope you enjoy it. As you can tell, I'm kind of dressed for winter because there's a whole lot of winter outside and there's nothing going on with the car today. Still very much in hibernation under its warm blanket. Kind of wish people would hibernate. That would be really awesome. I could use some of that. But anyway, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an update where I am as far as spring preparation and a little bit of announcement to make in a little bit. So yeah, where am I in spring preparation? I'm done my collection of DC3 spark plugs, racing spark plugs. Bought one or two of them every paycheck in my regular job instead of buying a whole bunch of them at once, because they are quite pricey, and it really helped the fact that our local hardware parts store just really stocked one or two of them at a time anyway, so kind of helped with that, the whole limited budget thing. Now I don't have the Excel ignition coils yet. Mainly because, like I said, the whole limited budget thing and some other priorities had come up. The other priorities that had came up about a week, maybe a week and a half before putting the car into storage, the money light came on. Yeah, if you're not familiar with that term, the money light is the check engine light. So yeah, there's a number of things you can do when that happens. The check engine light comes on, you can take a nice black piece of electrical tape, put it right over the check engine light, and the check engine light disappears. Not good if you want to actually take care of the engine, so you could bring it to a mechanic or a garage where they'll, if it's a recent vehicle, they'll, with all the electronics on board, they can plug into your onboard diagnostic port. They got a little computer that'll tell them, what is causing the check engine light to come on, as well as the suggested fixes, and they can charge you upwards of like $100 for the privilege of plugging in that machine for you. So, but what I went ahead and did, I went to Princess Auto. If you're in the States and you don't know what Princess Auto is, well, it's the Canadian equivalent of Harbor Freight. So, and I went there. Just a few minutes up the street, and I picked up one of these jobs. It's pretty much the same thing. Plugs into your OBD port. Just follow the instructions. It doesn't have a big screen. It's not going to give you a whole lot of information, but you follow the instructions, and you'll get the error code. And what you do with that is you go to your Google machine and you type in the error code, and it will tell you what the error code means and what the most recommended fixes are. In my case, I had two codes. Yes, two codes. The first code was for the crankshaft position sensor. That took me a little bit by surprise, because usually if the crankshaft position sensor is bad, you're going to have engine misses and the engine's not going to run right, but the engine was running perfectly fine. So, it caught me by surprise, but I got the part anyway. It's not an expensive part, so we might as well get that fixed. Second engine code that came up was for the multiple displacement system solenoid for cylinder 7. You don't know what this multiple displacement system is. That's the system where, if you're putting your foot into it, you'll get all 8 cylinders of Hemi goodness. But if you're on the highway just cruising away, you're just going to get 4 cylinders because there's not much demand on the engine. So I looked into what it takes in order to change one of these solenoids. So the solenoid, to change that solenoid, you got to unhook a lot of the hoses, all the electrical connections, the air intake, in order to take the intake off the engine and access the solenoids that are underneath. given the fact that it's a pretty significant amount of work to do, for someone like me anyway. I can take things apart very, very well, but as far as putting them back together correctly, it's a significant undertaking. So, if it takes that much work to go in there and change one, I might as well bite the bullet, change all four of them. That way that system is up and running optimally. I know there's a lot of people out there that when they have this system, they just choose to disable it, not worry about it whatsoever, have all 8 cylinders all the time. It was a little important for me to make sure that system is up and running. Now, why is it important for me to have that system up and running? Well, that leads us into the announcement, which is the Hemi is officially registered as a long hauler for the Hot Rod Power Tour 2023. Registration's paid for, hotel rooms are booked, we are ready to rock. There's myself and my brother from another mother, Josh, who you might remember from the Poker Run episode. He'll be joining me as a co-pilot. We have some awesome wives who are allowing us to go on this, what's going to be probably a 9-day trip, totally unsupervised. I know, even I'm a little bit worried, but here we are, and we are going, and we are so looking forward to it. Now, when I mention this to friends, or even in some of the local car groups that I'm in on Facebook, for example, a lot of people are coming back with, okay, what is the Hot Rod Power Tour? Well, Hot Rod Power Tour started 1995, okay? It was actually started as a way to increase awareness for another festival that Hot Rod Magazine was hosting called the Power Festival in Norwalk, Ohio. Now, they were trying to come up with ways to increase awareness, and one of the staffers said, well, we have all these cars that we work on and for articles in the magazine. Our readers know these vehicles. Instead of flying over to Norwalk, Ohio, why don't we drive these vehicles out to Norwalk, Ohio? And that's the idea that stuck, which is kind of surprising because when you think about it, back in 1995, Hot Rod Magazine headquarters was in Los Angeles, California. Now, if you want to Google map it yourself, you can go right ahead. You don't need to take my word for it. But driving from Los Angeles, California to Norwalk, Ohio, even if you want to stay strictly interstate, that route is 2,300 miles. Now, of course, if you want to engage people, have people see the cars, talk to people and whatnot, you're not going to do it on the interstate. You're going to take the back roads, go through towns and whatnot, and of course that increases the distance you got to cover. And in 1995, they covered 2,800 miles. In Canada, that's a little under 4,500 kilometers. And they gave themselves 8 days to do it. Now, that's a lot of math. That's a lot of kilometers to do on a daily basis for 8 days. But they said, yeah, we're going to do it. And 8 Hot Rod staffers took 8 of the Hot Rod Magazine vehicles and took off from Los Angeles, California on their way to Norwalk, Ohio. They were also joined by 7 other non-Hot Rod Magazine staffers who were going to do the drive from point A to point B. And along the way, cars joined, cars left. Overall, about 200 vehicles took part in that Hot Rod Power Tour, the very first one, which is not bad when all things considered. Now, of course, things have grown exponentially since then. Also, there's no Hot Rod Power Festival anymore. Instead, the Hot Rod Power Festival was absorbed by the Power Tour, and each stop on the Power Tour is pretty much a Power Festival. They got the sponsors, they got the vendors, the personalities, and from Motor Trend TV, from YouTube. So yeah, there's So yeah, it's a pretty big deal now, because last year there were over 6,000 cars that participated. There were over 600 registered long haulers, and at these at these Power Festival events at all the stops, there were over 100,000 attendees. So there's a lot of people that are going along on this tour. Now, this year, instead of 8 days, they've pared it down to 5 recently. It used to be 7 for quite a while. Now it's 5. 5 days. Starts on June the 12th. We're going to be at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Then on Tuesday, we're going to be at South Carolina State Fairgrounds, Rockingham Speedway on Wednesday, ZMAX Dragway on Thursday, and finishing off on Friday in Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. So that is kind of why it's really important for me to have that multiple displacement system on and working, because we got like a 2.5 day drive down to Atlanta to start, and of course it's like a full day, maybe a day and a half to come back. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Now, one thing anyone can say, mostly my family can say I'm guilty of, is when it comes to tours like this and family vacations and stuff, I tend to over plan. Okay, and even though I'm a first timer, you know, I have gleaned a lot of information over the last few months. Yeah, I've been researching a lot for months on this power tour, making sure everything goes smooth. And, you know, for other first timers out there, I think I got a lot of information, some information that might be of help in order as far as planning and preparing. To start, I'm going to talk about the engine cooling system. You really need to give that a good test. Make sure it's working 100%. Reason being, we're going down to the southern states in June. It's going to be hot. It's going to be some kind of heat that we don't really get to experience a whole lot of up here in Canada. So yeah, and second of all, not only your engine cooling, but you need to make sure you have access to a lot of water. An awful lot of water, keep yourself hydrated. And to help you out, you know, up here in Canada, at least in my part of 613, you can get a full case, 24 of bottled water from Walmart for $1.97. You're not going to find a deal like that. At least I haven't been able to find a deal like that down in the States. And even if you did, well, you're going to be paying American dollars for it. So we're going to be bringing at least 2 cases of that down to make sure we are good. You should probably do the same too. Now, thirdly, let's talk about clothes. And, you know, we're planning on taking about 9 days total for this trip, from the time we leave home to the time we get back home. So it's easy to look at that and say, okay, well, we're going to need 9 shirts. We're going to need 9 pairs of underwear. We're blah, 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 blah. Okay, no, you're going to need to pack more. Because when we're done at Atlanta Motor Speedway, for example, we go back to the hotel. The next morning we wake up. We're on a drive to South Carolina State Fairgrounds. It's going to be hot again. We're going straight to the venue, spending the day at the venue. And during the hottest part of the day, even if we're staying hydrated, we're going to be sweating a whole lot. At that point, when we're done, go to the hotel, check in, maybe take a cool shower. And we're not going to want to put on the same sweaty clothes that you were wearing all day long. So you're going to need to bring way more shirts, way more pairs of underwear, just to be comfortable in the evening when you go out for dinner and you hang out in the parking lot, because it's really very much a parking lot party at the hotels every time. What else about clothes? Okay, now early on in the Hot Rod Power Tour, when Hot Rod Magazine would contact municipalities to say, hey, we're going to be going through your town, just giving you a heads up, you know, municipalities would be very receptive. Say, yes, please, come on down, bring all these people, check out our restaurants, get some gas, we have gas stations, everything will be fine, check out the sites, spend money in our town. That's not so much anymore. Now, I'm not sure when that started happening, but as the event grew bigger and bigger and bigger, municipalities started not taking that approach anymore, and when they were given the heads up to say, hey, we're coming, they're like, okay, where's the check? Who's paying for this disruption? Oh, really? Okay. So, so Hot Rod Magazine essentially stopped giving out much advance warning. Okay, that's the long and the short of it. The exact turn-by-turn route between the venues is not going to be released for anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks before the event starts. What that means is maybe the municipalities are not going to be doing anything about it. Chamber of Commerce might not even advise their businesses. They might not have the time, might not even have the consideration to do so. And if that's the case, you need to realize we're going to be driving through some towns around the lunchtime hour. We're going to be going into restaurants to eat or fast food places or whatever, and they might not be adequately staffed beyond what their usual lunchtime rush hour is. Don't blame the staff, don't blame the wait staff, it's not their fault. Don't be one of those people. Second thing is that applies also to gas stations. They might not be anticipating the thousands of cars coming through. A lot of them are going to need gas. People are going to go in, buy road snacks or whatever. There might be only one cashier. Okay? It's not their fault. Okay? They're going to be processing a lot of transactions, the gas purchases, the snack purchases. If there's a public washroom, it might not be stocked with enough toilet paper. So bring some of your own. Bring your own toilet paper. You don't want to be caught sitting there and having a look and saying, oh, there's no toilet paper here. Not good. Okay? So, yes, make sure you've got enough clothes. Bring some of your own toilet paper. You might not need it, but you know what? If it gets you out of a jam once, it was well worth it. Now, the last thing we want to talk about is theft. You're getting a lot of cars here. There's a wide range of cars that aren't worth a whole lot to cars that are worth a whole lot. Okay? Thieves are going to know we're coming. Okay? So if you're driving something that's high dollar or whatever, be prepared. Okay? For one, nobody should be leaving any electronics in their cars. GPSs, if you're listening to music on a different device, cell phones, please don't leave in your car. Tools, you probably should not leave in your vehicle either. Now, as far as vehicle theft is concerned, there are a lot of vehicles there. Thieves have an awful lot to choose from. They are going to go after the low-hanging fruit. That means if you do something to make your vehicle harder to steal, it is much more likely that they're just going to decide to move on to some other vehicle that they're going to find in the parking lot, or the hotel parking lot next door, or the hotel across from that. There are plenty of options for thieves. You can do simple things just to make your vehicle more difficult. Not impossible. Nothing is impossible. But things to make it just a little bit more difficult is enough. For example, you can go to Amazon, and I'm pretty sure for like $30 you can get one of those parking enforcement boot kind of things, the big yellow thing that clamps on the front of your wheel, the front wheel. It might not be difficult to take off. It'll be a little bit time consuming, and it might be time that they are not going to want to spend on that vehicle when they can get another one exactly the same in the parking lot. That's going to be easier. Something like the club or whatever those steering wheel devices are now called. It sounds silly because the steering wheel itself is not a big deal to cut through or whatever, but it's time consuming, and it's time that they are not going to want to spend because they know some people will be looking. Even something as simple as pulling into the spot instead of backing in and and turning your wheel maximum one direction or the other, it makes the car kind of hard to tow away if it's going to be slamming into one of the vehicles beside it. Simple stuff like that is usually sufficient. Okay, myself, I'm not that worried. I don't have a high dollar vehicle, so I guess that's pretty much all about it that we have to talk about. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to find out when I put out the next video. And once again, thank you for watching, and look forward to seeing you on Hot Rod Power Tour if you're going. And we'll see you next time on 613 Mopar. Thank you.